This idea of Israeli society, and there has been a lot of discussion, public discourse about Israeli society and what it is and what it believes in and what's happening to it and who represents it. You've both mentioned this idea of this sort of fantasy, really, when you think about it, but a fantasy that went on for a long time, which is that you can live next to an occupied territory and go to the beach every weekend and party and go to festivals and everything's going to be fine. I wonder, though, if the lesson is we just need to build higher fences, have a better military, expel the people who are occupied. Never mind having occupied people next to us. Let's just not have any people next to us. Let's just take over the whole thing. And so, on one hand, you see people like Iddo, who's been marching to the border and who's been protesting. You have more and more people showing up in the streets. And whereas maybe before it was mostly about bring home the hostages, now it's about bring home the hostages, end the war, and stop starving Palestinians, and holding up pictures of Palestinian kids. So I do see that part of Israeli society. And I've met so many people in the last 2 years, peacemakers, people who are actively working to change the status quo in Israel and to change the occupation, apartheid. But then you read the polls. 80% of Israelis want to see Gazans leave. The majority of Israelis are not that bothered by what's happening in Gaza. You read that stuff and you're like, well, what is happening? And then you hear people say, oh, it's because they don't know. They don't know the extent of it. But then you're like, what? How do you not know? I mean, just pick up your phone, go on Facebook. There has to be an explicit willingness, I think, not to want to know, if that's your excuse, is that you don't know what's going on. And then lastly, I think we've also seen these really shocking and awful instances, not once, not twice, but really a trend of young Israeli soldiers filming themselves in Palestinian women's clothes, Lebanese women's clothes, making TikToks. You can't speak for all of Israeli society, obviously, but what is happening inside of Israeli society? What is representative? And that reckoning that you're talking about, Etan, is that reckoning coming about what kind of society this is and where it's going?